if October 30th was the day we lost him, November 5th was Nirbhai's birthday. So we celebrated his birthday. This family took it on themselves and they celebrated his birthday so that they don't, miss out on their dad. So that's all.
On October 30th, 1999, Lieutenant Colonel Ajit Bhandarkar made the supreme sacrifice in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir, leaving behind his wife, Mrs. Shakuntala Bhandarkar, and her two sons, 7-year-old Nirbhay and 5-year-old Akshay. In all their years together, he helped Mrs. Bhandarkar transform into an empowered woman who withstood the test of time and evolved as an individual, and today is a proud mother of 2 officers in the armed forces who served their nation with the same pride and dedication as their father.
My dad, generally, he's the one who decides for me. But this part of my marriage was totally my choice. So basically, I'm the only daughter for my parents, and I have 2 more younger brothers. And so, as a single daughter, I was like thoroughly pampered by my grandparents and my dad to some extent, being the only daughter. We got to know Ajit from a family friend of ours. He was the instructor there in OTA, and their only question was, are we as a family willing to, like especially to my dad, willing to get his daughter married to an army officer. So then my dad also had the same approach to the army. He said that's one of the most prestigious of all professions, and he's serving the country, and also why should I hesitate. And I was also okay with it. And so that was the first talk my dad had. And then when I met Ajit for the first time in one of our family friends' place, he had come from OTA, and he was like very frank about he was not I had not seen the glamour of the army life, but he just spoke about the difficulties an army officer's wife will face. That was the reason why actually I fell for him, saying that look at this man. He's meeting a girl for the first time, and his prospective, maybe he's just talking and thinking of marrying, and I was thinking of what is it I have in store for me. And he just told me all those things, and that is what attracted me to him. And another thing I just want to confess is my dad, generally, he's the one who decides for me, like right from the jewelry part to the dress which I wore till at least I was in college. He would take me to the store, and he would decide on the quality of the material and whether it would suit me or not. And but this part of my marriage was totally my choice. It was my birthday, and I didn't expect him, so he just gave me a surprise by just coming home to meet me on my birthday. So that was very nice of him, and it was a real surprise. And we had one whole day together watching a movie, and having lunch outside, and then getting back home. When he was leaving from Chennai again, I just went to drop him at the railway station. So I went to bid him goodbye, and he just tapped me and said, "Okay, I'll meet you later." And so then my colleagues in school would, pull my leg. They'll say, "What is this? You're marrying an army officer, and there's nothing interesting you're saying. You're just saying that you went and you saw him off and all. No hugs, no kisses and all. What is this?" They used to pull my leg. So he was a very decent gentleman, and he treated me with lot of respect. So there came a time when I had my birthday, and then he was supposed to come, and he didn't come. It's my birthday. I deserve to be, with my husband, and so I just got into the truck, and I went to his location. I had actually broken all protocol, and I'd gone to meet him. When he entered in, I saw all of them saluting him, and it was like one, big welcome for me as well. I was very naive at that point of time. We got engaged, and one weekend he took me to OTA, Chennai. So that was the first time I was actually entering into an army establishment. And when he entered in, I saw all of them saluting him, and it was like, oh my God, it's so nice. And it looked like one big welcome for me as well. Sitting, we had a bike, and he had a bike, and so we went on his bike. He came, picked me up, and he went in. So then we went there, and he took me to his room, and then I was just looking at all his things there, and I saw this 59th course golf was written there, this one. So then this golf was written. I said, "Oh, you won a trophy for golf," and he said, "Yes." So then little did I know that it was a squadron in NDA, and it was not the golf game. So they really pulled. Then I got to know that they had pulled my leg, and once while I was talking to him, he said that even at 12 o'clock at night, you'll have bachelors coming over for dinner, so you should not crib and complain about cooking dinner for them and all these things. Slowly, I also got to know, as I told you, during the my birthday, when we spent that whole one day, so he started telling me what is a regiment, what is a unit, and what is a div, and giving me the at least the protocol of the army and how a lady should behave, all those things. Slowly I started getting to understand the army. Once I got married, then I got to know that it's more like a family, second family, where everybody is taking care of each other. We got married in Chennai, so at that time we had a few officers who had come in for the wedding, and of course even my brother-in-law at that point of time, he just came a day before the wedding, and so slowly I started understanding that leave is not something which is not taken for granted. It's a day before you get to know that your leave is approved, and you join, whether it is anything for that matter related to the family or to the officer himself. So finally, I was glad that we got married, and we had at least 1 month of, he had 1 month of leave, and we could spend good time with his family and all. And he would always tell that, see, I got 1 month of leave for my wedding, should be happy about it, and things like that, He would recall those, that time also. See, when I got married, I got leave. So now what if I don't get leave and things like that. He said, "No, I have not called you here for a vacation. I wanted you to see how I work and what are the conditions in which people work." There are postings in the army where it's called field posting and where families are not allowed. Yes, but during summers, like he was there after Wellington, he was there in Sikkim. So there during summers, families are allowed. So when he took me there, my baby was like, Akshay was like 7 months old, and from Chennai to Sikkim, it took me 3 days is the official time, but it was delayed, and it made like 3.5 to 4 days, and traveling in the train, and with the 2 kids, it was, really adventurous. and not only that, I remember once when we were just going through it, and I was just looking at it, it was like one single room. So he told me, this statement, very clearly, it's engraved in my mind. I was feeling, oh, what is this? Why I've come here, to be there, and sort of like a vacation. So then, and when Ajit was not taking me out anywhere, he was busy with his work, and he said, "No, I have not called you here for a vacation. I wanted you to see how I work and what are the conditions in which people work." Because there they never had electricity, it was fully run by generators and all. Now, of course, it would have improved, but I'm saying how difficult it was. So I just wanted you to see the condition in which our services work. Because you've got an army phone, you just can't talk for hours together. It will be like after 5 minutes, it will get cut. So Delhi posting was the most rosiest of all the postings, So we could go around during weekends and all that, and spend some family time together. But keeping that in mind, there were times when, Ajit would always remind me that, he will, like one instance was that, the gas got over and I had to request him to get the gas cylinder, and then he looked at me and he said, why do you want to disturb me, or why do you want my help? You have to do it yourself. So I just went into a argument with him, saying that when you are there, at least you do it for me. When you're not there, anyhow, I will manage and stuff like that. It's like, it's not easy. It is tough, but I think he had made me strong by then to face all these things. I took a SF in separated family accommodation in Delhi, and of course, letters was the only means of communication. So I would always be very regular in my writing. And once the kids started growing up, they also started writing small letters and drawing small cards and all for him and giving. So that's how it was. When I was in SF, I had, communication was quite challenging. So there were times when on a Sunday, I would go to an army office and try to make a call to him. And the kids would be around. He would want to talk to the kids, and kids would be running around. So I have to go call them. And here we have the time ticking, because it's army phone. It's not that you can just, because you've got an army phone, you just can't talk for hours together. It'll be like after 5 minutes it'll get cut, So that was the standard norm. So this, and Ajit will say, oh, where is Akshay? Let me say hi to Akshay. And I would be going around, Akshay, come on, Papa is waiting. And so that would really, test my patience. I just couldn't believe that a few gunshot wounds would take away the life of a person, because in the movies it's hardly that, they get over it. We were just taking off as a family when we were there in Delhi. Yeah, so it just I had spoken to Ajit the previous day, and it was like a Kargil time. So we had lost a lot of them, and during the Kargil time, I was actually with my in-laws and my parents. I mean, my mom. So it was. It didn't hit me hard that Ajit is there also somewhere there, in that place. And but once everything got over, I thought everything was fine, after that. And we moved into Delhi. That is, after a vacation. So I had spoken to him the previous day, and he was saying it's all okay, and I'll be coming. In fact, we were planning our holidays, because generally it's, as I told you, because I was working and all, generally it's the holiday time, we see that it's well planned, and we see that we get to meet each other. And especially Ajit was fond of kids, so we were planning to go to Jammu at that point of time. So then it sounded okay, and it was a Sunday like any other day, weekend. The kids were having their own sweet time watching the cartoons and all. I was busy doing some lesson plan or something. And see, it's army campus itself, we have lot of ladies there. So I had lot of my friends working in the same school, and we go in the same bus and come on. So I found most of them, they are my friends in school, and plus a few other officers' wives, and the officer had come. So I was like surprised on a on a Saturday they've all come. So I was like with, happily I just opened and I made them sit and this, and they were all very serious, and they were not responding to my smile and my welcome and all that. So after some time, the lady there who I knew, who was working with me in school, she just broke out this news, and I just couldn't believe it at all. It was a shock for me, because I had spoken to him the previous day, within 24 hours, things have changed. I couldn't believe it, and I didn't believe it at all. I told them, no, unless I get any message from the unit, from where he is, till then I will not do. And like that, the last movie what we watched was Sarfaroz, so that movie also was, I just couldn't believe that a few gunshot wounds would take away the life of a person, because in the movies it's hardly that, they get over it. So that's how it is. But I have to thank all his course mates and school types and all. They never, sort of made me feel that he's no more. In the sense, they only took care of everything. I was just, okay, you come, now we're going to Bangalore. So we came here, and in Bangalore we did his last. Uh, with state honors, we had the funeral, and he was the first martyr from after the Kargil, he was the first martyr. So if October 30th was the day we lost him, November 5th was Nirbhai's birthday. So we celebrated his birthday. This family took it on themselves and they celebrated his birthday so that they don't, miss out on their dad. So that's all. For me, it's, it's a part of my life. I have to accept it. So I accept it. How do you know that he belongs to Karnataka? Give us proof that he's in Karnataka, he's from Karnataka. So here the Karnataka government started throwing their tantrums. They said, Ajit's cousin, and also he's from the same regiment. So he wanted to, his cousin wanted to help me out while I was in Delhi, clearing all the papers in the state government and all that. So they started, throwing challenges, telling us, how do you know that he belongs to Karnataka? Give us proof that he's in Karnataka, he's from Karnataka, and all that stuff happened. Because see, in the army, we are not in just one state. We are born here in one state, and once we get recruited in the army, we are hardly there in that state. We just go around serving wherever we are posted. So that was very bad, and my brother had come from US from at that point of time. So I don't know what happened. He's also, he's a very silent person, but he was observing all this happen and all that. So he quietly sent an email. At that time, sending emails and all was like really not very common. So somehow sitting at his desk, he had sent one note about all my challenges here in the Karnataka government, and then they woke up and then they cleared my case, in the sense it was more than the money part. It was just accepting him to be a martyr from Karnataka itself was very challenging. It was really challenging at that point of time, and so all his course mates, his school types, and also the unit thoroughly was with me. Even till date they are with me. Any challenges I have related to the army, they just help me out. So till they finished their 12th, I had no idea that they were going to join the services. These boys have no exposure to army life because the father was martyred at very young age. He doesn't know. He's not seen his dad in uniform at all for quite some time. As a parent, I had taken them. My brother is from IIT, so I had taken them to IIT Chennai. Father is from NDA, so I took them to NDA. So like that, I took them to all organizations and, showed them. I have never forced them into any of the professions. So till they finished their 12th, at least till my elder son Nirbhai finished his 12th, I had no idea that they were going to join the services. So then one day when we were coming back from the unit, Nirbhai said, I want to join the army. So when he said that I want to join the services, I thought, okay, maybe there will be an online application. And I'm going around knocking at my friend's door and asking her, hey, where your son had applied for NDA, when did it happen, how did it go? And all of them came back with the answer saying that, oh, I didn't do it, my husband did it. I don't know how it was and when it was. So then after knocking at all doors and friends and possibly everyone, then I got to know it was available in the post office. Continuously he was telling that I'll either join the army or I don't know. And as destiny would have it for him, he got selected, and so he's there now in his dad's regiment. And so in Akshay's case, he had taken the science group, and he wanted to take up flying. So then this university entry scheme was there in the services. So he chose naval aviation. They had asked Akshay also during the interview, saying that your brother is already in the services, and even if you join the services, who will be there to take care of your mother, or are you okay? So he gave a very smart and an intelligent reply, saying that my mother is very independent and she can take care of herself. So, and she's okay with us joining the services. So I go by him and I'm okay with it, because see, they, after a certain stage, I think we should, as parents, we should not interfere with the careers of our kids, you know. We have to let them be what they want to be, and just motivate them and see that they are happy. So now I take counseling from them, you know, when it comes to my own life, or even if the smallest thing, the desktop is not working, what is it, so which new phone to go for, all those things they would tell me exactly, and they do take care of me, so I'm proud of them. And service is the only place where I felt that my boys will at least learn to be organized, and they will be, you know, like responsible citizens of tomorrow. Maybe I will do something for Ajit by way of writing a book. So it was Ajit who encouraged me to pursue my B.Ed, and he was in fact the person who bought my application form for my B.Ed. While my dad was, you know, like, why are you doing all this? You already have kids, and Ajit is well settled. What is the need for you to pick up a career and all that? So it was Ajit who convinced my dad, saying that, you know, women need to also take care of, you know, their own career choice and do what they want. He has always been very supportive. I finished my B.Ed in Delhi, and you know, he was the one who would drive me to the center, take care of the kids while I was writing the exams. You know, today if I am what I am, it's all because of his uh, motivation, and of course I've got that drive in me to always, you know, excel and upgrade myself. For me, as for my future, I just, maybe as I told you, maybe I will do something for Ajit by way of writing a book in his memory, and you know, going forward, you know, maybe looking forward to the extended family of my kids getting married and all that. So that these are all the things which I'm looking forward to.